Well, in the words of Pete Fletcher, welcome, welcome, welcome to another Friday episode of Streaming Star Wars. As you can see, Pete is not with us tonight. He is
Oh,
off
he
doing
is.
like
He's in the chat. Look at him go.
no, what that was me.
Oh, was that you?
Spoiler alert.
He's not
Spoiler
here.
alert. That was me.
I
Pete's out. Pete's
apologize.
out doing like goat farmer things tonight. You know, that rural New Jersey country farm life that he lives as the devil to his Star Wars life.
Ah,
But Pete may not be here. But if Pete can't be here, what better person to bring in to help us act right, do things the right way, and have a bunch of fun than our friend Claire?
Act
Claire,
right.
how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little surprised by the introduction, but I'm good. I've got my Boba Fett ready to go here, and yeah, I'm so excited.
Outstanding. Well, we're thrilled to have you. And Christopher, as always, it's good to see you again another week in a row. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. Excellent. We're going to have a fun show tonight. We've got several topics coming up, several things we want to get into. Of course, we are going to talk about this week's episode of Andor in just a few minutes. We've got a middle segment. I'll go ahead and tease it. We're going to talk about the Disney buyout. We've got a 10-year kind of retrospective. The anniversary was a couple weeks ago. And as Chris and I were talking back and forth this week about what we wanted to do, he said, "What about this?" And I went, "I'm there. We're going to do that." So we're going to talk about that. And then we are also going to take your calls tonight, as we do every Friday night. We like to say this is like sports talk radio, but for Star Wars. So hang with us in a little bit. We'll throw that link in the chat. We'll run it across the top of the screen. And we want to hear from you about the episode, about the discussion, anything else that is on your Star Wars loving mind. We want to hear from you tonight. So we'll get to all that in just a little bit. A couple of quick things, a little bit of housekeeping and business, as we do at the top of the show every week. ATGcast.com. That's where you can find all the information about Podcast of the Wheels, Around the Galaxy, this show, our Patreon program. There's a merch button if you want to get shill t-shirts, Weird Space Friends t-shirts, show specific stuff, mugs, stickers, the whole 9 yards. It's all there. ATGcast.com. We'd love for you to check that out. The other big push, and as we just talked about a few minutes ago, with the ever-changing nature of the landscape of social media, and which platforms may or may not be around tomorrow, we've been trying to build up our Facebook presence a little bit. So we do have facebook.com/streaming Star Wars. If you go follow that page, we're pretty close to 150 followers over there. When we get to 150, we're going to give some stuff away. So if you haven't done that yet, we'd love for you to jump on that. We try to stream the episodes there. Pete does weekly, or not weekly, daily, did you know facts that are really well put together, fun graphics, cool stuff. Just, those little tidbits we love to learn about Star Wars that either we didn't know or we forgot or whatever. So check all of that out. I also want to throw a shout out to our live chat. I know we've got friends hanging out, other friends that will be joining us this evening. I see Jeff. I see Carol. I know that Matt and JD and some of our regulars will be joining us in a little bit. So thank you to all of you for being here on a Friday night. Certainly thanks to Claire and thanks to Chris. The other thing that we always make it a priority to do at the beginning of Streaming Star Wars is we have a toast. We raise our glass. We, toast not only to the week that we've had the chance to have this conversation, but I try to find something a little bit topical, a little bit, that relates. And the thing that I wanted to toast this week, and I kind of wrote this in my notes so that I wouldn't leave anybody out. I'm going to toast to the droids in Star Wars. I've always loved droids. I'm a huge droids guy. R2 is literally my favorite character in all of Star Wars. But the toast that I want to add is I want to toast to the droids in Star Wars showing us humanity. I've got a couple of examples. B2 this week in this episode of Andor, my God, I didn't know droids still made me cry after Rogue One and K2, but here we are. B2 and Dio showing us emotion, showing us fragility, what it means to be traumatized, to deal with trauma, to deal with, hard times, that kind of stuff. R2 and Chopper, those are those droids that show us pluck, determination, the fact that droids curse just like we do, all the fun stuff that we get from those guys. K2 and BD1, for me, these are loyalty. These are companion droids. These are people who are dedicated to who they're with, what they're doing. And then the other one I had in there is 3PO. We can't leave 3PO out. And honestly, the more I thought about it and tried to figure out where does 3PO fit, honestly, 3PO is the mirror that's held up to us when we want to be brave. We get that brave 3PO in Rise of Skywalker, the sacrifice he makes. But also, he's kind of a sissy. And we have those moments where I'd rather just go over here. What do you mean wipe that look off my face. And there's a lot of 3PO in all of us, I think, on a lot of levels. So I want to raise my glass. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Droids, and Claire will know the two I'm talking about. On the flip side of everything you just said, because this is in the comics, so I know you don't know. But 000 and BT1, these homicidal Tarkin
maniac
initiative
droids,
killer droids, and I mean, like the total antithesis to what R2 and 3PO are.
Right.
It's a protocol droid and an astromech droid. And his astromech droid has, I don't know where the circuitry they keep them going comes from, because the just guns are everywhere inside this droid.
I love them.
And they take such delight in torturing, murder, and whatnot. And the way that they talk to the to other humans, kind of like HK-47 would call people meatbags, that sort of thing. But they take it a step further. To them as well, because they bring balance to every other good droid that we've met in Star Wars, for sure.
And they've had an excellent week in the new Dr. Effer comic that came out this week. They had a wonderful week.
Yeah,
we'll see. There's room for all the droids. So I raise my glass tonight to the droids, to the two of you, to all our friends in the chat. Cheers, Sagrona Tima.
Cheers, my dears.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that ratio!
So much
I didn't get the ratio right again.
That's right. We're gonna ruin you yet, Chris. That's fine. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to drop a commercial real quick for just a second. And when we come back on the other side of that commercial, let's get into this Andor episode.
It's that time of year again. Life Day and all those other holidays. And that also means it's gift-giving season. What better way to say happy holidays than with a colorful t-shirt emblazoned with my face? Nothing says I love you like giving a mug that reminds someone that they're one of your weird space friends. Proudly slap stickers on your personal belongings that declare that yes, you are a shill. With more than 30 designs, all the sizes and colors, you are sure to find something that'll make you whip out your credit card and buy something you'll have to explain to whoever's doing your laundry these days. Check back regularly for new designs, and if you see something you like, make sure to snag it before our Disney overlords remove it for borderline copyright infringement. Head on over to atgcast.com today and click the merchandise button. That's atgcast.com. And happy Life Day to those who celebrate.
Seeing that commercial reminds me that I'm going to hear about it later, that there was another droid that I didn't toast to, and it was ATG. I'm not going to get to live that one down, so maybe I'll make that Pete's problem. He's not here. He lives with that droid.
That's what you get.
Good old Clanker, that's
Pete,
right.
for having a life.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. I'm going to send all my Clanker complaints your way. So as we jump into episode 11, we've only got one more left, the penultimate episode, if you will. From the beginning, Daughter of Ferrix, the episode title, right off. I knew where we were headed. The fact that we were going to be dealing with Marva. We kind of all felt like, we're just Cassian Go at last week after he escapes. She's kind of his number one priority. So much emotion in this episode. It starts out very early revealing that, Marva is gone, at least that we're aware of. I have a theory. I'd love for it to be, something else. Chris, I think you already know where I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Let's do this. Let's start with you, Claire. First reactions on this episode. What are your big rocks? What are the things that stood out?
Wow. There's a lot to break down in this episode. This is, it's been a very serious, there's been a dark cloud hanging over this entire season, but this just felt like full-on torrential downpour thunderstorm. Like the floodgates have opened figuratively and literally in my case, anytime B2 was like not wanting to leave and hoping Marva would come home and sad feelings and seeing my girl Bix, like the empty shell of Bix, and realizing that they're the only two that are together, and most, if not everybody else is dead from escaping that prison, and realizing that Mon Mothma can't stop her daughter from walking into a situation that's going to be probably
I
hard.
didn't see that coming. That was a surprise. Like, I had some theories that maybe it was Perrin, maybe he would somehow, insert the old ways and home and whatever. Like, the daughter wanting to do it, and that
Yeah.
conversation when she's talking to Vel, like, that was powerful. I didn't
Yeah.
know that would be as powerful as it was.
Me too. And like perfectly accentuated with Mon Mothma drinking a space glass of wine. Cause like
Yep.
you can't, like, I can't imagine like how much that must hurt. Like this whole episode just hurt. It was so well done. It's an incredible episode of television. And Cassian finally finding out that his mom isn't with us anymore.
It's brutal.
But there is one thing that this episode gave me, which brought me unparalleled joy.
Do tell.
And that is after this sad ass conversation on the phone, finding out his mom kicked the bucket, Andor walks out. And I just take one look at Melshi's shirt. And I'm like, that's all I need. Her universe.
Yeah.
Get on that. I want a
That's
dress. Right. I want a pajama set. I want a robe in that pattern.
Yeah. I saw a couple of people. It may have even been Pete that tweeted the picture of that screenshot and said, Melshi rocking the Roosevelts.
Ooh, my dude.
Yep.
I already have a crush on Melshi. He's a handsome man. I have a big like Rogue One like side character crush on him. He's handsome. He's got a great accent. And now the man's got style, even when
it's on
he's
the level,
finding it, It's
on the level of the yellow Lando shirt from the Solo movie with the clouds and the pattern shirt. It's got something unique that you're like, I noticed that right away. It's not just another tunic, another, Star Wars poncho or whatever.
Right.
He's flashy.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
absolutely. Christopher, what about you with this episode? What's your big early?
I'm a mama's boy, big time, and my love of dogs is immense. So B2, kind of like the family dog kind of thing, and watching him and just seeing, just from the sounds and whatnot, and wanting to be with Marv, you could tell, that hurt. That hurt. That hurt so much. Oh, so much. And everything dealing with Marvin. I was like, how is he going to find out? When is he going to find out? And just like, just wait and see whatever his reaction is going to be when he finds out. Like I felt so bad for him. I felt so bad for Cass. I don't know if you guys know, there is a theory going around about Luthen.
Okay.
Which is something that I don't know if I want to see in Andor, but it would kind of make sense, and it's kind of cool that people think that he is not just Force sensitive. Maybe he was a former Jedi of some kind, or like a Temple Guardian or something like that. And of course, in Star Wars, at least in Andor, there are no wasted shots. There's no wasted.
Right.
When he goes to meet up with Saw, and he has to hand over that cylindrical, whatever that was, to those people.
It's a little saberish.
I thought that too. I thought that the first time that we saw him walking with that walking stick, I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah. Could
Sir,
be.
You're not that old.
And that's another thing, and Jeff just brought it up. That his ship had lasers, at least what I think they are, that we have never seen before in Star Wars. And considering what he gave Cassian in that first arc, when he gave him a kyber crystal, I'm like, oh, he just has them in his ship. This dude's got kyber crystals. See, that also lends to that whole thing that he could be, part of the Jedi,
and it was
or linked to it at some point.
Somebody made the joke about his ship being like a Tony Stark situation. Like, you've got these bombs and this bomb and these little bits that fly out of this part.
Right.
But honestly,
And
it
David
was
Collins sitting
even
there in the in the hole
yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. But it was so the word I used to describe that escape was it was so surgical.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
he knew exactly what he was doing. He didn't sweat. He didn't hesitate. And it almost lends itself to an efficiency that could be attributed to having forced premonition, to having the ability to know a little bit, the one gap when the beam falters and you get to break loose. The one, like
Yeah.
every step of it was so just like it was business. It was clockwork. He was out
Yeah.
of there. It was easy.
How harder would it hit with that speech he made in episode 10
Mhm.
if we find out that he is, he has a past link to the Jedi?
Absolutely. The sacrifice speech. Oh my God.
Mm.
I'm
I
sad.
mean,
And like
I'm
choosing
sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring
this
it
whole
up.
episode is sad, but like
Yeah.
it's true though. Like how do you go from somebody who has to listen to the will of the force, like that's your whole gig, and like protect and people, protect the people of the galaxy, and now knowingly like sacrifice people, knowingly like lose all of that
Yeah.
that do the right thing all the time kind of thing. Now he's gotta my feelings. That would hurt me.
Yeah.
This show hurts, but it's so good.
Well, and a couple of the things that I thought about as well, like we mentioned it already, but Mon Mothma and Vel, as relates to Leda and as relates to making that choice, like this is the only thing that makes her happy. She chose to do this. Like, Vel comes in and she's incredulous. She's like, wait, I thought we weren't doing this anymore. She's like,
Yeah.
no, she wants to. It's the only time she's energized. And it's that parental child rebellion. Which is, again, I still think we're heading towards that situation where the Mon Mothma we get by the time we're getting to Empire and Jedi is a woman who has been through tremendous loss on so many fronts. And I think Perrin and Leda are going to be a part of that somewhere down the line, whether it's him continuing to drive that wedge, whether something happens to them. Like, she is a person, I said it last week, she is a person by the time we get to her in Jedi, the austerity, the front that she has up, that's something that only comes from the sheer amounts of loss, as well as having to maintain that false front, to be a senator and a double while running the rebellion. And while, when she finally makes that break and makes that, point when she leaves the Senate and leaves the Galactic Empire, so much power in that and in that whole segment or in that moment. And then the other thing, of course, is Luthen and Saw. I mean, first of all, give me all the Stellan Skarsgård and Forrest Whitaker on screen together as I can get.
Give me a whole 40 minutes of that. And I'm
Right.
just like,
but when Saw starts to realize, wait, you may have somebody in my crew and nothing is what he thought it was,
the paranoia.
to get Saw to continue to be the Saw that we find in Rogue One, to see him become the extreme partisan that he becomes, these are the things that plant those seeds, and those are the things that continue to push him farther into the ultimate final form of Saw Gerrera. It's unbelievable.
I thought he was going to go on this mission, and that's why he's so jacked up by the time we see him in Rogue One.
Right.
So something else horrible happens. Because I mean, I'm trying to think of the timeline where he meets up with the Ghost Crew and Rebels, and where that is in where Andor is at. But I don't think that happened. I don't think that.
Isn't that when he picks up Ezra and Sabine blowing up the communications dish?
Yeah.
God, just unbelievable. And that leads to the big, I go back to it, I've said it multiple times this season of Andor, but those 2 minutes with the projection of Saw talking to Mon Mothma outside the temple on Yavin.
It's my favorite scene
in Rebels. Like, it's unbelievable. And the two sides of this rebellion, and you have the extremists and the ones who are saying we're not going to kill if we don't have to, and we're going to. And that's also talking about Mon Mothma the way I have, and talking about, who she becomes. These are those decision points, and these are those inflection points that she has to meet and decide where is she going to go. I think I said it last week. What if she was the one facing the conversation about the Spell House mission and the potential to sacrifice 50 guys in order to maintain your cover and make the Empire think they're right? Like, how she would have handled that decision versus what Luthen had to do or chose to do.
She would never have done that.
she wouldn't have done it. And
No.
that's, that is such a, that changes the story. That changes the entire thing. And the fact that we are continually, and I'll harp on it as much as I want, the good storytelling that we are getting in this series sets up for the ability for us to even posit that as an alternate version of this, and to imagine, holy hell, what if this was the way it went? How does that change the rebellion? How does one, it's butterfly effect crap. Like, how
Yeah.
does one decision change the entire face of the rebellion?
And that's why you can't go all the way one or all the way one side or all the way the other. There's got to be a balance. And that's why, like with what Luthen is trying to do in the way Saw is, it works so well with the way Mon Mothma is and her way of leading and her mindset, that I think that you need both of those sides for the rebellion to continue. I don't think it would have hard this way, hard that way.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I want to send a reminder out to everybody. Oh, wait, what did I just do? Click something. Okay. As you can see at the top of the screen here in just a short little bit, we want to hear from you. We're going to take calls. I'm going to put the link in the chat. We'll put the other link at the top of the screen coming up shortly. So we want you to call in. We want to hear your thoughts, not only about the episode, but here in just a minute, we're going to transition to our B block. We've got another fun conversation that I'm excited to get into. So before we do that, again, we could go on for 2 hours just about this episode, but we want to hit some different things. Claire, what for you, what else in this episode do you want to hit before we kind of move on?
Shout out to our boys, the Narcanians. Is that right?
Yeah, the Narcanians.
Narcanians.
Yep.
Shout out to them. That voice actor I know from like 90 other things, but I don't know your name, and I need to know who you are so I can give you a big hug for voicing a lot of things that I love. I loved that whole thing of being like, no, we hate the Empire too. Like, all right, we'll cut you free. We'll drop you off where you want to go. You didn't pollute our rivers, but better catch it on land. Whatever. I love them. Big fan of them. Also, I love a big, sensitive, burly man in Star Wars. We love our himbos here. Special shout out to my boy Brasso. I don't think he completely qualifies for a himbo because I think he's got a good head on his shoulders. But that somebody is a good person in the Star Wars galaxy based on the way that they treat droids. The people who respect droids and respect that they are sentient beings. They're robotic sentient beings. They're artificially intelligent, but they have feelings. And the fact that Brasso did so much to comfort and care for B2 and like love on him. Well, not love
the
on
patience,
him, but
the patience for that, because we hear all the time, and we've talked about this, and I'll even throw this towards the toast we did at the beginning, like droids, you have that thing of like, is a droid a person? Is a droid like the emotions, but treating a droid like a person, and somebody like Brasso, who's a blue collar, hardworking, again, like you said, a big burly dude, didn't have to give that deference. He could have, been Han Solo, shut him off, or what does he say? Yeah, shut him off or shut him down. It could go either way. And so to get that, again, and those are character choices. They really are in a story like this, and the way it plays in. And of course, I heard a theory somebody said about, what if some point some of B2's circuits end up being part of what Cassian uses in K2, or adding, and I'm just like, don't do that to me. Like, one, I need B2 just to be hanging out somewhere, charging cell phones or whatever.
It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be that way, but anything else for you?
No, great episode. Fantastic. Amazing. Love. Love Brasso. Love Melshi's shirt. Love B2. And I love the custom of getting bricked on Ferrix, that you become a part of the infrastructure of the city, that you're honored with being part of this community even after you pass on. It's a beautiful, like, pseudo reincarnation kind of thing that I just thought was so beautiful. And I love it.
It made me pause, but I have told my family for as long as I can count, I want a Viking funeral when I die. Like, push me out on the lake, set me on fire. Like, let's go. Like, I'm in for that.
That is badass. But
there's a part of me that's going, put me in a brick, like, stick me in the corner of a building somewhere. Like,
make me something
Jeff
beautiful.
said it, yeah, she's in the bricks now. Like, that's a legacy thing. That is, something cool. Chris, what about you? Final thoughts, wrapping up, talking about the episode. Anything else you had?
It was. I love the part, and please don't take this the wrong way, but we got some Star Warsy stuff in this show finally, so to speak, with
I'm taking it the
Luthen.
wrong way.
With Luthen in the arrestor. That was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
okay, that's I'm like, oh, that is some Star Wars stuff. I'm glad they threw
Cantwell.
that in there.
Yep.
But I thought that was fantastic. And again, Cassian, reacting to, hearing about his mother's death, like he took that with so much strength, because I would have collapsed. Like I wouldn't even have made it to where Melch was standing on the beach.
Right.
He'd have to come find me. But yeah, that was, I thought that was just his reaction and how much he was holding back to trying to, just keep it together was amazing. Diego Luna is masterful. I mean, he doesn't, even on this show, we talk about a lot of things, and we talk about with as far as Cassian goes. But he deserves so much, because he is a fantastic actor. And he really destroys it every time he's on screen.
Absolutely. I had a couple of things you hit on a little bit, that the Cantwell class arrestor destroyer. Colin Cantwell passed away earlier this year. Production artist. Yeah,
I missed that.
Production artist. To get that shout, as soon as I heard that, I was like, oh damn, like that's a really great nod. A great, that was a concept art. That was one of the original concept arts for the Star Destroyers back in the day. So to get that was a really special nod. The other thing that I thought was funny, and correct me if I'm wrong about this, I love when Cassian goes back to the hotel room to get his box of money and guns and all that stuff. The alien that's asleep in that bed is the same species that was asleep when Jen's on the prison truck, or before she gets arrested in the prison truck with the long, I forget what the species is, but it was the same one. And I was like, I like this Rogue One, same sleeping alien thread. Like, let's make that show up somewhere else.
Like, y'all must sleep like 20 hours a day. You're like a house cat.
So are you like a dog of aliens?
And is there no housekeeping at that hotel he's staying at?
Right?
Did no one grab that thing?
Nobody dusted the light fixture and knocked it over accidentally.
And speaking of being cat-like,
1 star.
Frickin' Cassian and his, climbing up on the shower, getting that heavy box off the. I mean, there was a lot of credits in that box, and that's jangly and a gun and all this. Like, bro was he's like Catwoman in and out of there, just like, I got it, it's fine, we're good. Let me go buy you that shirt you wanted, Melshi.
Cat burglar.
Whoever that was, that was asleep, must have had a hard night beforehand, and just sleeping through anything.
Yep. Absolutely phenomenal. We have talked a bunch about this series, talked a bunch about this episode. Before we move on to our next segment, let's do this. Claire, you're on the spot first. Do you have any leanings, any thoughts? What happens next week? Any wrapping up theories, predictions? What you got?
Oh, it's so hard. Because we have nearly an hour long episode next week. So we've got a lot going on. I think that, obviously they're building up to the ISB watching Marva's funeral. Cassian probably going back. Cyril going back to Ferrix. All of our plot line, like Vel is going back to Ferrix to be with Cinta. Everybody's gonna be in the exact same spot.
It all converges on Ferrix.
And I want my queen Marva to have the most respect and a peaceful end, but I'm sorry guys, this is about to explode, and I'm excited to see the rebellion that's building on Ferrix right now. I'm excited to see them go into action. I'm excited to see all of it, and I'm stressed and I'm scared. I don't care, whatever. My God,
Pete is here now. Thanks.
Pete
Pete
has arrived. Hey buddy. But yeah, I don't like to go in with too many expectations, other than I know everybody's going to be in the same place and nobody's going to be happy about it. And I'm very excited to see it go boom. So
absolutely.
Anyway,
Christopher, what about you? What you got for next week?
Along the same lines as Claire, I think past everyone being in the same point, I don't know what's going to happen. Cassian could get arrested again. And then of course, there's a 4-year, story being told in the next season. So a whole lot can happen. So yeah, I'm excited to see what's going down. But yeah, I past them all being in the same spot. No idea.
Yeah,
All
and
I
I
know is
think
I'm
that's
there
legit.
for it.
And I like it that
every
way.
bit of it.
I like
Yep.
it that way.
Yeah, I don't need to have to predict it every time.
Yeah.
My one little tiny conspiracy theory was, how great would it be? And this is solely attributed to Pete, because he brought up maybe last week or the week before, again, with no wasted space, no wasted dialogue, no wasted anything. When Marva's talking about the old tunnel under the whatever, the daughter of Ferrex thing, there's a little part of me that wants this to have been a staged death, as a part of her wanting to stick one last fork in the eye of the Empire in some sort of, like, if they carry me out, and it could go two ways. She could not actually be dead and had planned some sort of way to get her out of the house because she knew she was being watched, because she's done this stuff. She knows what it looks like. She's smarter than she gets credit for. Yeah. And so what if she's gotten herself snuck out either to the tunnel or to the whatever? Because if there's a brick, where's the body? Like, there's a whole thing there. Or even if she is dead, but she had some sort of built-in contingency plan where get me as the dead corpse to somewhere to still go boom and still cause a problem for the Empire somewhere, like something where she gets to go out with the control, with the power. Like, I would be all about that being the inciting thing that throws Ferrex into chaos, that throws, maybe one of, Dedra's people gets taken out, or, it adds to the, the pressure that's going to continue to boil, because when we get into next season and those last 4 years, 3 episode arcs each, it's going to hit a little bit of a fast forward. So something needs to be the catalyst that projects us in that direction. So what if it's, a last minute insurrection on Ferrex that's spurred on by Marva, one of the OG rebels,
and hopefully takes out Dr. Sadist at the very least.
Yes.
Oh yeah, he's got to go.
Exactly.
He's got to go.
That creepo's got to go.
Yeah.
I've been rewatching.
Yeah,
I've been rewatching Game of Thrones lately, and I'll be honest, Bix gave me some Reek vibes, like, broken shell of somebody, not as dramatic, not as drastic, but like them carrying her through the hallway, that like she's been through it. She's been traumatized. Like, that's hard. That's real hard.
Oh.
So
no.
Anyhow, now that I've brought us to such a happy note, it's time to transition into something else. So what we're going to do is we're going to run another quick commercial, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have another fun conversation. So everybody ruminate on the horrible thing I just said, and we'll see you in just a second.
This is Clanker.
And I am MK0.
And we're here to tell you about Geek John Toys and Collectibles. What the hell is a John?
John is a slang term that is commonly used in the eastern United States city of Philadelphia, meaning virtually anything.
Ah, so nerdy stuff then.
I would assume so. Please continue.
Right. Geek John Toys and Collectibles is your pop culture destination for all the plastic crack you're addicted to. From action figures to comic books, from Funko Pops to high-end merch, they have the stuff from all the major and indie companies alike. Check out their eBay store to see their wide range of items.
Find them on their eBay store at ebay.com/USR/GeekJohnOutpost or email them at geekjohnoutpost@gmail.com.
Geek John, these are the Johns you're looking for. Oh my maker, I can't believe they made me say that.
Everybody's just vibing in the background, feeling that music. Welcome back. Glad everybody's still here hanging out with us. I'm glad to see so many friends hanging out in the chat. I see JD, Jasmine, Sean, Dan, Jeff, JD, TW, lots of initials in the chat tonight. That's always fun. It's another fun night. Just a quick reminder, we're going to throw the link in the chat coming up here pretty shortly. We want to hear from you. We want you to call in, share your thoughts, but we're going to jump into our B block segment, and I'm going to pass the baton to my good friend, Chris Ryans, and tell us what we're going to talk about, Chris.
Well, 10 years ago on a fall, crisp day, October 30th, um, Disney acquired Lucasfilm,
Yep.
and it breathed new life into the fandom because they're like, oh my god, there's gonna be more coming out, that sort of thing. Um, if I'm gonna ask everyone, and I'll go first on this one, I'm gonna ask
Yeah.
everyone, where were you? What were you doing when you found out? For me, I woke up to a whole bunch of texts and missed phone calls because I was knocked out. Um, and for me, when I saw the first text, it was it was something that I feared for many years, and that was Disney buying Star Wars. And I was like, oh no, it's happening. Hell on earth. That was my first reaction to it. And I had to sit with that for a bit. And I thought of some things. Now I'm like, they got the Marvel stuff, and they're doing good with the Marvel movies. This is to me before the Marvel movies became formulaic. Don't throw any heat at me. Um, and they did well with like other properties that they have that they had scooped up. So I was like, okay, all right, this is I'm gonna be okay. I'll be okay with this. We'll see. And then I think the first thing that came out, and I was like, I'm gonna wait until I see the first thing that they put out. Because right now, like before, like with the prequels, I was like, it's George's thing. He can do what he wants. And I didn't fault him for anything that he did. I'm like, it's his. He can do what he wants. That's Star Wars. That's his. I said with Disney, I will call them out on anything that I think sucks. I was like, I'm going to be relentless with whatever they put out there.
Star Wars police.
The first thing that they put out, the first Disney produced Star Wars thing to come out publicly was Star Wars Rebels.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes in, I was like, okay, you guys got it. Let's go. I was like, for me, they passed with flying colors. That was the test, was Star Wars Rebels. They passed with flying colors. I'm like, okay, we're good. We're good. Let's go. I'm ready for it. So yeah, it was an acceptance thing for me, with hearing about the Disney acquisition. Yeah, like I said, it was a nightmare situation, but it all worked out. I don't think there's anything that I've hated that they've put out. I'm thinking, no, I just like this stuff.
Yep. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
It's so good.
So, Claire,
All right.
how about you? Ooh.
Oh dear.
She told us ahead of time she has a
This is-
story. I'm ready to hear this.
I do have a story. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. So my story, and Nick had the good sense to clarify before we started recording that this news dropped on a Tuesday, which made me feel a lot worse about this story. So October 2012 was my freshman year of college at the University of Missouri, MIZ.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Fellow Tiger over there. And I was a science major, so a lot of our classes, for those of you who aren't aware, are in the morning. So my classes were done by 11 o'clock that day, as were my friends. And what do you do when you're a freshman in college with a RA who is lax, to say the least? At noon on a Tuesday, you start the party, my friends. So, as
The weekend's not that far away.
only 3 whole work days. Only most of the week. But anyway, so I was in a bit of a dark place. So we started the drinking early at that time in my college career. Just went through a major breakup. So we're like, all right, Claire's gonna be the fun drunk. She's gonna be sloshed all the time. Sorry, Mom. But I was not tuned into the Star Wars world. I was not involved in online fandom very much at all. Like, I listened to one podcast. I will not mention what podcast that is because that did not age well. And as time, I just wasn't tuned into any of it. So,
Sure.
it's noon, 1 o'clock. We're day drinking through the evening, and I haven't checked my phone. I don't know what's going on. I don't know that Disney has acquired Star Wars, and somebody decides to share this to me, very, very inebriated, and I got so excited that I would just scream in everybody's face about how excited I was. We got effing Disney money now, baby, and like yelling at people. I think I kissed somebody on the cheek that I had no business giving them the time of day because they know it was not good. I made some stupid choices that day, and I had no regrets about it that day. The hangover I regretted the next day in my 8 a.m. class. But long story short, don't day drink on the day that Disney acquired Star Wars 10 years ago. I left out a lot of details, but we're just gonna say that it wasn't my prettiest moment. And the next day when I sobered up, the only thing that I was concerned about was Clone Wars, which in the end worked out. So there you go. That actually wasn't as bad coming out as I thought it was gonna sound.
Yeah.
So
I think you're fine. You
Yeah.
know, I wish you had celebrated the 10-year anniversary the same way you celebrated finding out. That would have made for an even more fun story.
I know, right?
Because now you're a grown up and you have a job. Like it
That's
would have been a
true.
whole
I
other
worked
situation.
from home today. That would have been really fun calling people today.
Hey,
I told-
did you know?
Did you know? Yeah, I would have gotten fired today if I celebrated in
Love
the
it.
way that I celebrated back in the day.
Love it.
Anyway, Disney money. Yeah, it worked out pretty good. And my
did.
Clone
It
Wars
did
came back
indeed.
and ended better than I could have ever imagined it. So
What a way for Clone Wars to come back too.
truly.
Like, and one thing before Nick, before we get to you, one thing that I loved was, and I know I'm not a big expanded universe person. Like I read the Thrawn books, the comics, the Dark Horse comics, of course, and a couple of the novels, other novels that came out, back in the 90s. But when they said, yeah, we're killing, we're taking the EU out of it, and we're just going with the movies and Clone Wars, I was like, thank you. Chewbacca lives.
Chewbacca lives. Nobody
No
threw a moon
moons.
at him.
Yeah.
No moons involved.
Yeah, no moon.
No moons involved.
I was at, I forget if it was Star Wars Celebration 2 or 3, and R.A. Salvatore, like I was like within like a few feet of him. And I was with my buddy Will, and we're walking by. Like, we just did this Gentle Giant Studios thing. I don't know if you've seen that minibus that I got. We just did that thing. So I'm walking. I'm like, oh, my minibus look ugly, dude. It's not going to be good. Oh, this sucks. And then my buddy Will's like, hey, look who it is. I was like, what? I was like, oh, that son of a bitch. He killed Chewie. How did they let him in here? Like I was, so I was so glad that they cut all that out. And they've cherry picked since then, and it's been fun.
Sure. Definitely good stuff.
Like that was the one thing, like in the sequel trilogy as well. I was like, if you motherfuckers killed Chewbacca, I swear to God, I swear to God,
They're
I
like,
will
we won't.
burn it all down.
We're killing Han
There we go.
and Leia
and Leia and Luke.
and Luke. Lando lives, but yeah. So Nick, how about you, brother?
I said this to you before we got on air. I don't know if I remember specifically where I was when I found out. I know I was at work. That was still back in my church working days. So, office days allowed me a pretty decent amount of time to be connected to social media, listening to podcasts and various news outlets and whatnot. So I'm sure I knew about it, as the news broke. It was probably a relatively quick, get the information thing. But to kind of come to Claire's point, I don't remember where I was, but I remember the thoughts I had. And the two thoughts that I very specifically had were exactly what she said: resources, like the amount of things that Star Wars could do with Disney behind it, money being number one, studios, any of that kind of stuff like that, I saw automatically as a win. The other thing that I threw into it, and it ties in as being a very specific Disney resource, was Disney, for all of its history, even before the movies in the studio, starting with, the shorts and the park and the things that Walt Disney did, Disney can tell a story.
Yeah.
Disney knows story. Disney has the ability to take Hans Christian Andersen fables, to take mythology stories, to take folk tales, to take all these things and turn them into Pinocchio and Snow White and Cinderella and these iconic Disney things, the live action things. I mean, everybody has seen, Bedknobs and Broomsticks and the Apple Dumpling Gang and, Return to Witch Mountain, all these things that have Herbie, like it's a story about a fucking Volkswagen Beetle that is iconic because there's story behind it and because it's created in a way that nurtured love and story and character and all those kind of things. And I thought this is what Star Wars could use, especially coming out of, I was in post prequel land. I was in that, zone of like, okay, there's these other things. I mean, like you, the first real thing that I paid attention to after the buyout was Rebels. And initially I knew it existed, but I hadn't watched it yet. And I was in that like, that's a kid thing. Like, I'm too old for that. I'm too whatever. And I came to it a little bit late. Like maybe the first season was done. I played catch up, played whatever. From the beginning of when I watched the beginnings of Rebels, I was hooked from the beginning. And I went, oh, this is a different level. Even in the early seasons, before it gets really deep in 2, 3, and 4, from the beginning, I went, this is Star Wars. And this is Star Wars with good bones. And that's really what I thought the Disney storytelling brought to Star Wars in that way, was to be able to put a structure to it that can build on everything that is possible, whether they dissolute, it stung for me to lose the old EU on a lot of fronts, because that was the Star Wars I had. Heir to the Empire, the original Thrawn trilogy, like that was my jam. The Jedi Academy trilogy with Kip Duran and, that whole, like those were my books in the 90s, going through junior high and high school and heading into college. Like,
I had those books in my purse in high school when kids picked on me for that shit. I'd be like reading it in my bag back before I was cool.
Man, the teasing I used to get.
Right?
Yeah. So
up until the Disney buyout, that's when my teasing stopped. And people were like, hey, wait,
it became mainstream.
You are Star Wars girl. How do you feel?
Get away from me.
Well, let me tell you in this 5-paragraph essay.
Welcome to my TED Talk, talking about
my TED Talk. We're ready to go.
Yeah. Before TED was a thing. Welcome to my talk. That was it. That was my big thing. Like, I knew how significant the way Disney handles story, and we got in a preview of it because, like you said, the Marvel stuff was before the Star Wars stuff. And so we started to get to see these leanings of what this could look like.
Yeah.
But I knew the power of Disney storytelling. And again, it goes into such minute details, and we talk all the time about behind the scenes and documentaries and that crap. Like when you watch that American Masters documentary series about Disneyland and Disney World and the lengths that they go to for that to be an experience, the trash cans empty down below underground. Characters come in this part of the park and show up in this part of the park. You don't see, it takes you out of the experience. And of course, we know that with Galaxy's Edge. The way the entrance is designed is to funnel you down to this choke point so that when you come out of it, all you get is this, not, hey, there's, Futureland behind me or Tomorrowland or whatever.
All you get is adult man tears based on every time I've gone.
And I haven't been there yet, but I will be a nasty, messy puddle when I am. But
I'm looking at you, buddy.
I did my best, Claire. I held it. I held it in, but inside I was like, that was me the entire time.
I love that there's a video of us going the first time into Galaxy's Edge, and like there's a moment where I'm like, I'm just so happy I get to share it with you, and I hug you, and you're like,
okay.
Cool, I'm good.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, that attention to that detail being applied to something I love as much as Star Wars was nothing but a win. Like, give me those details, and we've got it. And I used this in my toast last week, and I'll throw it out there now, Chris, and then I'll hand it back over to you. But in 10 years, we have gotten 5 movies. We have gotten 17 different series, live action, animated, micro animation, Jedi Temple Challenge, all 17 different series in 10 years.
Jedi Temple Challenge.
Exactly.
Bring
Let's
it back.
Yes.
As
On top of
adults, I
those
want to
two
do it.
things, on top of those 2 things, we also had 6 documentary series. Biomes, Sounds of Star Wars, Light and Magic, the Behind the Kenobi, Gallery series, like all of those things. Not to mention the stuff that is in active development that isn't all those other things that we've listed before. That's in 10 years. That's an economy of efficiency and quality that is all but unheard of.
Yeah.
And don't forget the books and the comics.
The books
Yep,
and
I
the
would say
comics.
that doesn't even include
so
initiatives like the High Republic
Yeah.
and honestly the reinvigoration of the comics. Like
Yeah.
honestly, and you're the expert, Chris, because that's never been my thing. But I certainly feel like I've heard 100 times more about Star Wars comics in the last 10 years than I did prior to that.
Absolutely. When they announced a little bit later on after the acquisition that Marvel was taking over Star Wars, I was like, okay. And then I was like, but yeah, they're going to be putting Jason Aaron on it. They're going to be putting Kieran Gillen and all these amazing writers and artists that have worked on Marvel stuff and DC stuff. Listen, Dark Horse Comics, they had Star Wars before, and Dark Horse is the house that Star Wars built. I felt really bad for them, but I felt good for what I was going to be getting Star Wars wise for as far as the comics go. And in January 2015, when Star Wars number 1, when Star Wars number 1 dropped,
sorry.
Yeah, when Star Wars number 1 dropped, Jason Aaron and Star Wars number 1, I was like, weird. I was like, weird. We've hit it. We're there. And from the beginning, I think maybe like an issue or 2 in, I forgot, when that happened, but they changed everything and people got pissed because Empire Strikes Back is no longer the first time that Vader and Luke meet.
Right.
And it was
for the first time. Yeah. And it was fantastic. And this, Nick, this leads back to when I was saying about what I'd like to see from a middle trilogy done now.
Right.
Is, doing stuff like this and change, just like, because that one panel changed everything we knew about the first meeting between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And it's amazing to see. And they've done, they did so many things, like Sana Starros, bringing her in and us thinking she was Sana Solo. They took so many great chances. Dr. Aphra, many great chances. And just gave us a whole different view of what Star Wars storytelling is. And I am so like before, like I said, it was a nightmare scenario for me, but I'm so thankful that they grabbed it and were able to, I'd love to see more George produced Star Wars stuff, but I love what they've done. Call me a shill. I still got to pick up the t-shirt, but I dig it, and I'm not a Disney person. I don't like when we went to Disneyland so we can get the Galaxy's Edge. I didn't care about anything that was going on. Like, what's that street, Main Street, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah,
I didn't care. Like, oh, there's Mickey. And I'm like, get him out of my face. Where's Galaxy's Edge? I don't care about you, Mickey Mouse.
Where's the blue milk? Get out of my way.
Where's the blue milk? I do not care about anything else around me. Is there a trend that goes exclusively
Come on now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was
good.
Well, hey,
was good,
I want to keep this going for another couple minutes, but I also want to throw it out. If you see in the chat, if you see at the top of the screen up here, there we go. It's coming this way right now, right here. Type it into the chat, click on the link, come join us. We want to hear from you. Like we said, Sports Talk Radio for Star Wars. Your opinion matters. Your voice matters. We want to hear from you. So we're going to tie up this segment, Chris, if you've got anything else you want to tie on here, and then let's see what our friends have got to say for us tonight.
Let's bring them in. I'm good.
Absolutely. Well, let's hit some callers. Oh, look at this. We've already got a caller in the background because our friends love us and we love it when they come and hang out. So let me hit this video and we will get them in here. Except I lost the video. Oh, there it is.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
You have a collect call from
Darth Vader.
gotta take this.
JD is in the house.
What's up?
What's up, my friend?
How's it going?
Uh-oh. We may have a technical thing. Are y'all hearing that?
Yeah, I thought that was my phone. But no, it's not. I don't know what it is.
Hang on 1 second, JD. Let me see what happened. It went away, so we may have a glitch in JD's audio. Let me try this. Hang on. We're gonna work this out.
No.
Oh, it's back. I don't know. Maybe you can refresh and jump back in, JD. Let's see if that fixes it.
Yeah, refresh your bro.
Communications disruption can mean only one thing: invasion.
I had to. Pete put it in there for exactly this reason.
Jeff in the chat said that he thought it was his AirPods. That's literally, I just unplugged my
I
microphone.
did too. I thought it was
I'm
mine
like,
as well. Yep. But when I pulled JD out, it went away. So I think he's resetting. We're gonna try that. But the good news is we've got another friend on deck. We've got another caller. So let's do this.
What's up?
Connor.
hey,
Okay,
What's up, my friend?
Connor.
I've never seen this whole thing before. Like what you guys use. It's
I gotcha.
not StreamYard.
It's
It's
not
really
StreamYard.
weird.
You're right. We're
Connor,
changing it up.
It's my first time experiencing it as well. I was like, I am going to which link here? Okay,
Yep.
Yeah,
let's do
but
it.
I saw it in the chat and I'm like, okay, so it's just gonna be sent. It's just gonna get sent to like
That's right.
your link.
What is this a
tree.
scam? Are they trying to steal all my identification information? Like what's
Yes.
going on here?
I-
But
I've
it's
almost had
here
that
and it
happen
Their
once.
works.
I don't want to
identification.
have that happen again.
Well, you're
Um,
here and you're safe. What's going on, friend?
Not much. To answer Chris's like sort of question, like where were you
Yeah.
when Disney announced Star Wars? I'll be honest, I don't remember. I just don't. I was a freshman in high school. I have no
Okay.
memory.
That makes sense.
You're that
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
younger
You're-
than
yeah.
me.
You're a
Yeah.
wee lad. It
I'm
happens.
thought we were-
25 with the body of a 60-year-old. I've had 3 surgeries in the past year.
And only half the amount of eyeballs. Wait.
Oh no.
Oh no, it's
right.
it's whatever. So yeah, no. Other than that, I'm pretty good.
Excellent. What about Andor this week? What's your big takeaway from this episode?
Dude, the Luthen and Saw scene,
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
incredible. Like
Yeah.
the Luthen and Saw scenes, those are my top 2 scenes in the show, no doubt.
Absolutely.
They just
So let me ask you
they
this.
just kill it.
I'll pose it to you, and then after we kick you out of here in just a second, I'll pose it to my fellow co-hosts. Award season. Who gets nominated for something? Because at this point, I'm like Skarsgård, Forrest Whitaker, Genevieve O'Reilly. Like everybody's on the table, but let's give me 2. Who are your top 2 needs to be nominated for an
God,
award?
I gotta pick 2. All right.
2. I'm holding you to it. You got to make a choice.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair. Best supported. Oh wait, no. Yeah, best supporting.
You don't even have
actor
to give me
Stellan-
category. Just give me who's
No, I
who's
will.
up for an award.
I will.
Okay.
I'll say best supporting actor Stellan Skarsgård,
Okay.
and probably best production design.
Okay. Love it. Man, those are fantastic. Connor, it's always so good to see you. We've got some more folks hanging out in the background, so I'm going to keep this party moving. Cheers to you,
Perfect.
my friend, and we'll see you soon.
See you around, kid.
Always good to hear from Connor. Always good to get his perspective, even though he was basically a fetus when Star Wars, came out 10 years ago. Love Connor. So fun. So let me pose this question to you. We've got a couple more callers hanging out in the background that I'm excited to get to. But Claire, give me two And I'm holding it to a number because otherwise we could say everybody should be up for something. I want to make us make a choice. So who are your two that need to be up for awards in award season for this show?
Genevieve O'Reilly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just yeah. There's so much to that character, and when you look at that storyline as to what gets nominated typically in award seasons, I think that is the most likely candidate.
Okay.
It's really hard because everybody is fantastic in this show, but I think that featured role, is that just a Tony's thing? I don't remember.
It may be, but do it how you want. It's your show.
Forrest deserves a nod for just being Forrest Whitaker, and then but definitely Stellan Skarsgård as well. I know I answered the same things that everybody else did. Not very insightful.
There's a reason for that.
Because they're the best.
Yep, it totally works. Awesome. Christopher, give me two. Give me your two.
Can we do a dual award for just one dual award for Forrest Whitaker and Stellan Skarsgård, and then another dual award for leading for Genevieve O'Reilly and Diego Luna? Am I cheating? I'm cheating. I'm sorry. I can't choose.
You're allowed.
I cannot choose.
Now we're just making it the MTV Awards. We're making up the categories we want. Like best on-screen duo.
Yes.
Stellan and Forrest. We can do it how we want to.
Best on screen. Look to the left or right. Who wins? Way to go, MTV. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man. I want to say Stellan Skarsgård and Forrest Whitaker.
Okay.
If I had to pick two, yeah.
Excellent. I like that. Well, we've got another caller on deck, so let's hit another clip. Let's do another thing, and let's get somebody else in here to see what they think.
Hello, what have we here?
We're going to try it again.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now.
We got you.
And there is no communications disruption. There is no invasion. How are you, JD?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you guys doing?
We're excellent. We're glad to see you.
It's lovely to see your face.
You can hear me.
For real, for the first time, I think, on an actual stream together. Hello, how are you?
Yes, wonderful. I'm doing great. It's we haven't got any of the heavy snow in Kansas yet, so I'm actually happy.
Oh,
no doubt.
We've started here. It's been snowing for the last 4 days here, and I hate it.
I wonder if that's
much
coming
too
my
early.
way.
It's much too early for that yet. Much too early.
I wish that were true.
What's pinging on your radar tonight of all the stuff we've talked about, or something we haven't? Where are you at?
I was thinking about when you guys were talking about Disney taking over Star Wars, and I was kind of like, where was I at? And I couldn't think, and I was trying to just jog my memory, and I was like, where was I? And I think the reason why I don't really know very clearly when I heard about it is when I heard it, I kind of went, that makes sense. I was kind of like, oh yeah, okay. That they had some things in the works. There was a little bit of cooperation going on there. So I was kind of like, when when they said, oh yeah, they acquired Star Wars, it came as a shock because I didn't know it was for sale. But at the same time, I was kind of like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I kind of figured they'd do something like that, And I understand why people, Disney being a big corporation and Lucas being an independent individual and bringing Star Wars to the screen as an independent person, I kind of get why some people throw a little shade towards Disney on the whole situation. But really, honestly, I mean, the first three films, the originals, we got three interpretations from different directors on, how they felt about it, how they felt the story should, how they felt the story should be brought to the screen, and things like that. And then when I heard that Disney took it over, I'm like, okay, let's see what they can do. Let's see how it all works. And and then we know the reputation of Disney. We knew how they were, and we kind of knew what the good and the bad was going to be. I mean, there's no kind of there was really no shock to that. You know how they are. They're a corporation. They're about bringing children's stuff to the big screen, but at the same time, they are a corporation and they're about their money. So, I mean, really, the fact that shocked anybody, I was like, that isn't really shocking. It's just that's the way it is. It's their formula. It's who they are, and it's how they are. And when they got down the road and they started saying, "Oh, we're going to make a theme park based on Star Wars," I was like, "Oh, holy crap!"
Yeah, we've made it.
and the attention and everything. And then I heard the announcement they're like, "Oh, they're going to build a life-size X-wing and an A-wing, and they're going to have Imperial stuff." And then they go, "Oh yeah, by the way, they're going to build this life-size version of the Millennium Falcon."
Yeah, exactly.
You had me at hello.
I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Repeat that in my ear one more time, please, so I can freak out even more. And I want to pass out. But
And as Brian says, we're going to build two. We're going to build one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast.
We're going to build two. I want to call them up and I go, I know I don't have the money, but I can cut a check. I got a backyard that's big enough. You guys want to go ahead and hook me up?
Yeah. I just want one right here.
Yeah, I'm halfway between Florida and California. I mean, come on, the midway point. Give me a little love.
You're sacrificing for the people. We appreciate that about you.
I will gladly sacrifice for the benefit of all the geekdom like myself and you guys. I'm here for that.
No doubt. Well, that's what makes you a king, and that's what makes us always excited to see you on a Friday night. Thank you for popping in, my friend. It's good to see you. It's good to hear from you when we're not being invaded. And we hope you have a good week this next week. Happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully we'll see you next Friday.
You all as well. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and cheers.
Cheers, indeed.
May the Force be with you.
Love that guy.
Yeah.
Love the energy he brings, the kindness. I mean, we all got to meet him at Celebration. First of all, he's an actual literal giant. So happy, so fun. My favorite, and I talked about this a couple weeks ago early in this season. I have a picture of me, Chris, and JD standing together, and we look like the Wi-Fi bars in your house, just working our way from short to middle to tall. But such a good friend, such a good supporter of the show. And again, just a quality Weird Space friend. So speaking of Weird Space friends, we have more people on deck. We have more people we want to hear for. So let's roll another one.
Go for Papa Palpatine.
You have a collect call from
Darth Vader.
I gotta take this. Hold on.
I have to use this clip. I have to use this clip for Jeff every time we're together having beers in person and hanging out, somehow it comes back to that clip and how funny it is, and it makes me laugh. So, what's
every
up,
time,
man? Happy
man.
Friday!
I love it. I love it. What's up, y'all?
What's up, brother?
I love your hat, by the way. That is badass.
Thank you, Claire.
I want one.
Thank you, Claire. Let's start things off. Here's to everyone. Our Weird Space Queen. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you, my dear.
Interacted with you in live person, but it's good to see everyone. Chris, Nick.
It's about time.
Absolutely. Cheers.
About time.
Cheers.
Yes.
What's on your mind tonight? What's on your mind in Star Wars tonight?
Oh boy. Yeah, we could go for like 4 hours on these topics tonight. I mean, and I've got plenty of Jack Black for it. Nick, I sent you that picture, so we can just keep on going. Now, the episode of Andor was so good, was so powerful. There were so many epic performances in that episode. Who knew that Luthen could fly like that and never even crack nothing, and just never blink, never change his facial expression through that entire. He was like, "Oh, only 4 TIE fighters." That's funny, you guys. Watch this.
Yeah,
he took care of it, and then he's gone. Never even panicked, and we're like, we're like on the edge of our seat, like, how's he going to get out of this? And he's just like,
he just rolled with it.
Bing, bang, boom, bing. Lightsabers on the ship. I'm out.
It's an Tuesday when you're drinking at noon. That's how it goes.
Amen. So the scenes with him and Saw obviously were great. Nick, I texted you about Genevieve O'Reilly and just that small scenes that she had. You could just feel the anguish in her soul.
Yeah.
Just
the parental weight. That was what I kept coming back to. Like, as a parent, You're a parent too, Jeff. I know, like having kids, having daughters, like
oh man,
it felt real. It felt, I mean, it was genuine. The acting is just, it couldn't be more top notch.
You are preaching.
Yeah,
and I'm just sitting there like, I mean, and like you said, you feel that having a daughter, you know, and you're just like, when the idea first came up, you're going, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
You're with her like, get that, dude, you gotta be shitting me, right? And then by the time they get back to her in this episode and she's like had to think about it and knows what kind of trouble she's in, she's just like, I mean, you can just feel the dread and the anguish on her. I mean, it was just, oh God.
It's brutal.
Man, the acting is so good on this show. It's just so good on the show. I mean, I just everything with Cassian is great. Just his reaction to his mother's news, and then that cutaway scene where he came out and he's standing there with him, and you're wondering in that moment, okay, what is he going to tell him that his mom died? How is he going to react? And it's like, whew, yeah, everything's good, you know. And you're just like, all right, this guy's hardened up right here.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's about to go into like. It's war now. He's about to go into the war. So
for sure.
Well,
kudos,
magnificent.
Kudos to that.
Yeah. Well, looking at our other topic as well, do you have any memories from the Disney buyout from that 10 years ago? Does that stand out on your radar at all?
Yes. Okay. So I remember when I heard the news, thinking my first thought was, we get more Star Wars movies. So I'm in.
Yeah,
you know,
let's go.
We get more Star Wars movies. And you know, at this point, I hadn't gotten into any of the digital stuff. I hadn't gotten into any Clone War, any of that, any whatever was out there. I hadn't got, the only thing I'd seen was the 2-volume Clone Wars animated
with Tarkovsky.
Way back in the day. That's the only thing I'd seen, you know. And so I was like, cool, I get more movies. Great.
Yeah.
It took me a while
I think
to get
that's
into Rebels.
I think that's a really great point, and that's something that I haven't highlighted enough, because the other thought I had was coming out of the prequels, being the fan of the era that I was, like, it felt like, okay, this is it. Like, we're done. Like, we're not going to get anything after that between the prequels and the Disney buyout. Like, we were just done. Like, that was the end point.
Mm-hmm.
And I was willing to accept it, even though at that stage, certainly I was a little more iffy on the prequels than I am now. But that was that first indicator, like, ooh, if a new company has it, they did this because they want to do something with it. They didn't buy it to shelf it. They didn't buy it to just let it gather dust in somebody else's corner.
And Disney has done that. Disney's done that.
They absolutely have.
Studio Ghibli, who now just finally made, like, you know, they have something like a Star Wars something, and that's peanut butter and jelly right there. But
they're about to do it to Fox. They just bought Fox so they can stick in the corner.
but like when they bought or had some kind of partnership with Studio Ghibli, and then like just shelved a whole bunch of this stuff and then bring out, like, the only brought out was like Princess Mononoke. I was like, please don't do this with Star Wars, please.
I've always had this image in my head of how this meeting went when they acquired Star Wars. Like, Disney walks in the room with, like, 10 or 12 billion, and George Lucas is like, watch this. Give me 2 billion, and they're like, oh, really, dude? Here's 4 just for the flight out. Now piss off, guy. Now we got other stuff to do. That's cute.
Yeah. So
I'll just double it for him showing up. It's cool, man. Feed it. Whatever, dude. Yeah, we got you.
I just imagine George being the most tired dude on the planet. Like, whatever you give me, I'll take it.
Seriously.
Just take this.
Like,
it's your problem
Star
now.
Wars fans.
It's your
I have
issue
been
now.
putting up with their crap for so long. And then I did my passion project and nobody appreciated it and nothing its time. And now I'm just here like, screw all of you.
Yeah.
Screw you guys. Home.
Maybe it becomes that scene in Godfather 2. I'm going to take a nap, and when I wake up, if there's money on the table, I know I have a partner.
Yeah.
Like, we're just moving on. Give me my money.
If we can get Godfather references on a Star Wars show, we have won the day.
I'm your guy. Well, Jeff, it's so good to see you. We've got one more caller hanging out in the background that I want to get to. So we're going to send you along the way, but cheers and happy Friday.
Love you guys, man. Good to see you, Claire.
Brother.
Happy Friday. Nice to see you.
See you around, kid.
It's fun. That's a fun caller to have, because I'm sitting here knowing that he's like 6 miles away from me right now, in the same town, hanging out. Oh wait, just like that, we have a second surprise caller. So I'm gonna go ahead and run another video. We've got 2 callers on deck, and we're gonna start getting into some more fun stuff and heading towards wrapping up. It's been an amazing night so far. I'm excited to bring on another caller. So here we I'll say this as we bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Fry.
What's up, brother?
Rocking, not only rocking the Weird Space Friend shirt, but it's been a good streaming Star Wars when I've used up all the caller intro videos and I'm starting to have to recycle them because we don't have one for every caller. But I also have to brag a little bit. Personal point of privilege. 2 nights ago, my good friend Brian, hanging out here on the stage, called me on FaceTime and gave me like a 45-minute personal walk around of the Halcyon because Brian and Holly were on another excursion, and it was fantastic and it was fascinating.
I haven't unpacked the car yet. We just pulled in.
They literally just got home, and he ran in the house to give us a call and hang out. So how are you?
My kids, my cats, and I said, do you mind if I go downstairs? And Holly was like, sure, go ahead.
By the way,
Amazing.
give Holly a big fat kiss on the cheek from me because I love her as well. And they love seeing you. So
that's right. From all of us.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
I was going to blow your minds with another Godfather reference.
Please, come on with it.
That ties into Disney. You guys remember Captain EO, yes?
Of course.
Came out like while Return of the Jedi, the warmth from that movie had not left the theaters. Right. Came out in Epcot in '86. Coppola directed it, right? Lucas wrote it.
Correct.
So Lucas and Disney go back before you were born.
Way back.
Yep.
Well, before you were born.
Before Star
back
Tours
in
too,
my day.
Yeah, before Star Tours as well.
And this is like a 2010. I'm going to do a little bit of old man show and tell too.
Nice.
Love it.
2010, they had, Star Wars
Pete
mixed in with Disney stuff in the stores. So it's kind of inevitable.
Yeah.
It was bound to happen. And it was, Brian and I talk a lot about with, him and Holly and their connection to Star Wars. I mean, to Disney and the parks and that kind of thing. And I love Star Wars. I love Star Tours on a level that's sometimes hard to explain. Like, cause it was when I went to Disney World as a kid. Yep. I see it. Oh, I see it every time you're on. When I went to Disney World the first time when I was probably in 4th or 5th grade and got to go do Star Tours and see the giant walker outside, the whole, that was significant. That was a big deal because I hadn't seen anything like that in real life.
Nope.
Like this was my first real life Star Wars experience. So to have that, and now as an older Star Wars fan and collector, like I'm regularly on eBay searching up like vintage Star Tours stuff because Star Tours has been around for 35 or 40 years now. And
did you cry like I did the first time you went through Star Tours and
100%
in the seat?
I did.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it was real. Yeah. It was amazing.
And I know I'm the baby here, but it's funny how many parallels I can find with your story, Nick, because the first time I went to Disney ever was 4th grade. I was in 4th grade.
Okay. Yep.
And I was a Star Wars fan, and I rode Star Tours. And I was like, oh my god, look at all of this around here. It's all real.
It's really real.
It's really real. So, a couple decades later, because I'm a baby, but exact same experience before Disney bought Star Wars, before any Galaxy's Edge talk was even remotely a thought in anyone's brain. Yeah, I had the exact same experience, in 4th grade, going on Star Tours for the first time, which is also why I love it.
Did you get right back on to?
I would say I convinced my parents to let me ride it twice. That was the most I could get. I couldn't get more than that, but I tried really hard, and I'm pretty sure I pitched a little bit of like a throw yourself on the floor of the grocery store fit because they wouldn't let me go more than 2 times.
Star Tours was
and
the
that's,
reason
and that's a
we went.
Yeah.
That was the reason.
Awesome.
Like I was like, Iggy, when they made it, I begged my mom. I'm like, can we gotta go. I finally want to go to Disney. I didn't want to go before. I had no reason to go to Disney World when I was a kid. But yeah, they had Star Tours, and I was like, I gotta go, Mom. Can we go? Can we go? So like that's the only reason. That's the only reason why we went to Disney World was so I could go to Star Tours, and I wound up spending like the first thing was seeing that ad, and I was just I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then after the first time I went in, I spent like my entire vacation money I spent in the gift shop that day.
As you must.
Yeah.
I grew up in Georgia, and so Orlando was our Disney park.
Yeah.
We didn't go that often, but Holly went even less. Like her parents were not into taking the kids there at all. So she had never been in Hollywood Studios. And when we went for our honeymoon, I got to like run up ahead of her a little bit and watch as she came around the corner and saw the Star Tours stuff. This was 96, so way before Galaxy's Edge. But I got to see her like, oh.
I love
She's like,
it.
Bigger Star Wars nut than me. So
that's
to
amazing.
see her see that was awesome. And then
I trust
with the Falcon.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of dating or marrying a fellow Star Wars nerd is or just loving a Star Wars nerd platonically and getting to experience this with them for their first time. It's like the joy and the feeling inside of getting to watch somebody that you love who also loves this experience it for the first. It's so special. Like Ethan's birthday trip was to Disney for his first time ever. And on his birthday, we went to Galaxy's Edge. And
that's
like
amazing.
the magic of like watching him, like lifelong Star Wars nerd, like walk into there on his birthday, like, and just, oh my God, the magic of, and like all of my Star Wars friends at Celebration who had not gone until we went. It was honestly just like the best thing ever, just to be like, I want to watch you do this because it's so special. It's so special.
Yeah. You know how
I think. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say, West Coast opened before East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And Holly had gone to, I think, an LA business thing and was like, do you mind if I go to Anaheim and like check out Galaxy's Edge? And I was like, I guess not. So she got to experience that before me. So she got to do kind of the reverse later when we went together to the preview in Orlando. And, I walk around the corner and like she did with Star Tours, I was like, the Falcon.
Yep. I'm at the point now where I've been to Disney 3 or 4 times, all before, prior to Galaxy's Edge, prior to all that kind of stuff, that I think at this point, because I haven't been to Galaxy's Edge yet, it's going to be the next Orlando celebration, because it needs to be the next Orlando celebration, because I need to go with all of you. Like I need to go with all of my space friends and Pete and Scotty and whoever else is there. Like, because I'm going to need that support emotionally, because I will be like when Indy gets hit in the face fighting the bald guy outside the airplane and his knees buckle that first time, I'm going down. Like I'm going to walk in the door, I'm going to see the Falcon, and I'm going to be a puddle. So like I need the support of the people who will understand the most how it's going to hit me.
That's the other thing too, is like,
I love my wife. She loves me. She won't get it. Like it won't be the same thing.
And like my family loves me and they're like, great, I'm glad you like this thing. But they wouldn't get it either. But they're
like, where are the teacups?
Yeah, exactly. It's like they wouldn't get why I'm sobbing in front of the Falcon taking a picture for the first time.
Totally makes
sense. You need to be with your weird space friends. You be with your people.
Without question.
And the experience of being Halcyon is a lot like that too. If you're into that kind of like active play inside Star Wars, it's just
I want to go so bad.
It's very, very cool, and I'm very thankful for the tour I got the other night. So Brian, thank you for taking the time, just fresh in the door, fresh getting home, for coming to see us. We always love seeing you. We're going to send you on your way because I'm sure you're tired and you're ready for bed and unpacking and all that fun stuff. That's right. He's got to go pet the kids. And I believe I have a cookie that came from the Halcyon that's going to come my way in the mail sometime soon.
I did remember, yes.
That's right. Take care of my Halcyon cookie, and we will see you later.
We'll get more for everyone else later.
Bye.
See you, buddy.
May the force be with you.
So fun. And like I said, literally, he called me on FaceTime the other night and he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm hanging out. My wife's out of town. The girls are in bed." He's like, "Well, I want to show you something." He FaceTimed me and we like walked around the
Casual.
halcyon. He showed me the restaurant, the bar, the room. Like,
Mhm.
it's just unbelievable. It's so freaking cool.
Did you see it when he did it on for
Yes, Bombad.
Scotty's? Yeah, and that was just like the greatest experience. I was so glad that I caught that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was that, but even more personal. He's like, "Do you want to go in here? Where do you want to see?" I'm like, "I'm just the passenger.
it.
Like, take me where you want." Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you want to go? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do. Yes, have some, as they say in Ghostbusters.
It's my favorite line.
So before we get out of here, I would be remiss because we have one more caller hanging out, one more friend that we want to get to, and this is the appropriate caller to be with us to end the show. And I'm even going to go ahead and pull some executive privilege. This caller is going to end the show with us. So without further ado, I've got to get my video window back open because I messed with some things. We're going to play a video and we're going to bring in one more caller to send us on our way for the evening.
Greetings, Exalted One.
Greetings, Exalted One.
Yes.
You know, I leave the kids home alone for a night. I had to check in, make sure, you didn't drink all my booze. You didn't, ruin my couch. How's it going, kids? So
We've
good to
left
see
mess
of
all
you.
over the house.
I really called in for Claire. That's the real reason.
Nobody blames you.
Oh, little
Yeah.
old me. Oh,
It's so good. I did actually. I caught a lot more of the show than I thought I'd be able to tell you. Great show tonight. You guys do much better without me. So I'll be taking off the next couple of weeks. This was fun. This was great. And I love the topic that you recommended, Chris, about talking about the Disney acquisition from 10 years ago. I'm literally pulling up my post the day it happened because I, like so many other people, it's been a very interesting 10 years for me because I have come around so much on the prequels because of the stories that we've gotten over the last 10 years. Because I was the classic burned by the prequels guy. Like I walked out of I tell a story 100 times where I walked out of the Phantom Menace and I was like, that was a Star Wars movie, but what did I see? So it took me a while. So I remember exactly the situation because Hurricane Sandy had just blown through the East Coast.
Yep.
I was without power. My son was 2 months old. My daughter was 3 years old. The only people that had power that we knew was my brother-in-law, who had literally a 1.5 bedroom apartment. So I sent my wife and kids there. My in-laws were there, and I stayed at the house like it was the zombie apocalypse because we had only been in the house about a year. We had like two 40-foot trees across our pool, across the backyard, and we didn't have power for 10 days. Yeah, it was not fun, but hey, you know what? First world problems. But I remember checking on Facebook and I saw it, and my initial response was just read that Disney is going to acquire Lucasfilm and that episode 7 will arrive in 2015. I'm either really happy or really scared. Either way, I say awesome. So I was equal parts apprehensive and equal parts excited because of the fact that they were turning Star Wars over to new people telling stories. And you guys have heard me talk all the time about how I always talk about movies with my dad. And one of the things he and I had talked about for the previous X number of years was, wouldn't it be cool if George Lucas let some up and coming directors and writers create some Star Wars? And so to me, that was really exciting. But honestly, I did have a little bit of fear of the mouse. I was a little bit afraid of what they could do with it. And honestly, as we've seen over the last 10 years, it has not been disappointing. I mean, admittedly, like most people, if we're all being honest, there's some things that were like, yeah, that wasn't for me, but it was cool. I heard you guys talking about the books and the comics. You guys know where I come in on comics and books, and I love the books when I read them. Comics, I like the quick shots that you guys do. Yeah, you guys, that's look, if we can get Chris to drink on Friday nights, I can read some comic books. I think
that's right.
That's only fair.
We're bringing worlds together here. That's what streaming Star Wars does.
But I mean, I remember literally it was like 45 degrees, and I can tell you exactly where in my house I was when I saw it, and I was more excited than anything else because as a kid who saw Star Wars in the theaters when I was 7 years old in 1977, and as Nick has said, we thought Star Wars was over after Revenge of the Sith. It was like,
yeah,
this is amazing. We're gonna get Star Wars again, and so it was good. But like I said, it's so strange because it's like, my parents remember where they were when JFK was shot and when we landed on the moon. I remember where I was when Disney gave George Lucas $4 billion. So
I kind of remember through an intoxicated haze, but I remember.
I want to catch up with Claire at the next celebration and fully understand the rest of that story. I feel like there was a big swaths of it that were left out.
You know what? Y'all gotta buy a couple stiff drinks before I share the
All
rest of that story.
Yeah. Done. Call it a deal.
Wow, that's tough.
Yeah. Talking to this lot, like you have to convince us to buy drinks for you or ourselves.
Shucks.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, let's get us another round, I guess.
That's right. Call me a bad time. Well, this has been such a fun show. Claire, first of all, thank you so much for being with us tonight to fill in for Pete to do such a great job as we knew you would, because you're our friend and we see you do this all the time. Where can everybody find you? What do you have coming up? I know you've got Imperial Senate. You're a Bro Axiom regular. What does Claire have going on?
Man, what do I have going on? First of all, thank you for having me on. Anytime that you guys invite me on, it's like no thought involved. I will drop the plans and I will be there because I love y'all and it's always so much fun every time we podcast.
Absolutely.
Together. Yeah, you can find me on Imperial Senate, at Imp Senate Pod on Twitter. I guess maybe not for that much longer, but
for now,
follow the Imperial Senate. Google us, you'll find a link tree where you can find the rest of our links. But I'm on every social media platform at Seastribs, and other than that, I'm going to be getting back on ye old Twitch soon. So keep your eyes peeled on your socials for that.
So,
if you want to
some
play
Battlefront Tuesdays in our future.
There may be Battlefront Tuesdays and God of War streaming. And Mario Karting. You never know what's going to come up in here. Breath of the Wilding. I don't know. Just take it. The Witcher 3-ing. I don't know.
Well, I think at this point, we need to find a moment where it's a Claire Twitch with maybe a little bit of Fortnite, which is like Claire and Scotty and Nick and Pete. And Jack plays, but Pete can play on Jack's account.
Yeah, I'll play in Jack's account. Yeah.
I can't play well, but I will play.
Doesn't matter. Well's not the point. Just playing is the point.
Absolutely not. If it's the point, then y'all don't want me there. But I can't wait. And thank you again. Just thanks for having me on. Love y'all. And catch me on Bro Axiom every Sunday night, shooting the poodoo and covering every new issue of Dr. Aphra. Also pick up this week's Dr. Aphra because it was good.
Absolutely. Well, that's the perfect transition to this man right here. Chris Ryans, what do you got coming up? Bro Axiom, everything else.
All right, well, first you can find me. You can find me on Twitter. I just won't be active like anything really. It is not an Elon Musk thing. It's just I'm just kind of sick of Twitter kind of thing. You find me on TikTok for both myself and for Bro Axiom doing that whole thing, and of course on Instagram, Facebook. This week we've got a couple comics coming out. We've got from Dark Horse, Star Wars Hyperspace Stories, number 4 with Finn and Poe, where they're like in some Wild West scenario. It's weird. It's so weird. Also, we have 2 new comics coming out with for quick shots that'll be out on either Monday night or Tuesday. One is Star Wars Revelations, which would be like it's an anthology book, and it'll show you like a little glimpse into the future of what's coming for Star Wars comics down the line. And we have the first issue of Yoda coming out, and Dan will be handling that one. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's gonna be dope.
I'm so excited. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's see. We have, of course, Shooting the Poodoo coming out.
Yep.
We've got a new episode of Nice Guys is going to be coming out at some point this week. We're going to be talking about Running Scared on this one. Yeah, Gregory Hines and Billy Crystal. Oh my god, I love that movie so much. So yeah, me and Mick will be doing that. Star Bros, they had their episode out. Talk about episodes 9 and 10 of Andor for that Star Wars Easy listening for you guys. You gotta check them out. It's amazing stuff. So yeah,
excellent. Well, you're off duty tonight, Pete, but I'm going to make you work anyhow. I can't get the screen to change. Where did it go? Hold on. Hey.
Wait a second.
It's not working. Anyhow, Pete, what's going on with ATG Cast?
Well, since we normally drop on Thursdays, and of course it's the American Thanksgiving this Thursday, we're probably going to drop a greatest hits. Go back in the archives. Between Podcasts of the Wills and Around the Galaxy, we have like 200 plus episodes of really cool stuff. So we'll probably go deep in the archives for this Thanksgiving, and then we'll be back next Friday. We haven't asked Chris if he's around, but hopefully Chris will be around next Friday when we will be talking about the finale of Andor. And guys, it's good. It is really good.
Yep. Pete's seen it already. For those of you keeping score.
That was such a subtle brag.
Did you like that? That was pretty good. But I'm excited to talk about it. So Chris, let's take notes and we'll be ready and we'll have some good stuff to talk about, because I think Mr. Milky is going to be traveling next week.
That's right. The fam and I are hitting the road on Sunday morning. We're going to be gone the whole week of Thanksgiving. We're going to do some, good old fashioned Griswold style family vacationing. So I will be out. I do want to throw a plug. Yesterday, we dropped a new episode of Podcast of the Wills with Tim Barnes. Tim is Go ahead.
So no, I just was going to say, we've had 2 episodes lately. Sorry to cut you off there, Nick.
No,
but we've had 2 episodes lately that have been kind of exactly what Nick and I have been talking about, what we want for the ATG Cast podcast stream. Just cool people talking about Star Wars, but not at that sort of sweaty nerd level that we sometimes get to on the show, which is a lot of fun, but just people who are Star Wars fans and finding those connections. And Tim Barnes, Nick, man, what a great show. Such a good episode.
I appreciate that. Tim, if you don't know Tim, he's one of the co-hosts of the Yub Nub podcast. We've had Greg Iwinski on before. Greg writes for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He's won 2 Emmy Awards. Tim writes or has written for Late Night with Jimmy Fallon. He's a comedy writer. He's written for Comedy Central. He has a series of animated shorts on YouTube called Maurice on Mars. It's such a fun concept where we colonize Mars. And Maurice goes to Mars, but he's one of the only people that doesn't have like the brain change inhibitor chip. So he's this black, guy on Mars, and he works at a coffee shop, and it's just hilarious. And there's so many little funny things in that. But Tim is also a Star Wars fan and a TV writer. And so it was great to have that conversation and kind of dig into how does a TV writer approach and experience this new era of Star Wars we're in. Great conversations. I recorded a new episode last night with Cody Marlar. Cody is a TikTok star. Cody and his wife Leslie are kind of up and coming on TikTok right now. Super fun. Another just like random way that I landed somebody. I was in his live last weekend and I was like, hey, on a scale of meh to I love Star Wars, where are you? And he was like, holy crap, I'm like 100 times past I love it. And I was like, we're going to talk. We're going to think. So we set it up. We had a great conversation, lots and lots of fun. So if Twitter is dying, there's still life out there. And it's on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and in the real world and wherever we are. So lots of fun, exciting things still coming up. Streaming Star Wars will be back next Friday night with Chris and Pete and, a discussion of the finale of Andor. I will hate to miss it, but I will hopefully tune in from the comfort of my Airbnb in Asheville, North Carolina. I may even be able to call in like Pete did tonight. So we don't know. Amazing. We'll see what happens. But we're going to wrap it up. We're going to get out of here because we've been on for a long time tonight. And we're so thankful for all our friends that have watched, stayed with us, called in, all that fun stuff. So I'm going to flip the table tonight, Pete, and may the force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.
I gotta say, I do love that song there. It's like I can't stop listening to it.
Okay, hold on. This is
What
weird.
happened? Wait, what
It
happened?
says that we're still going.
Oh, well, okay. I'll just hit this end stream button and see what happens.
Try
I'll
it again.
over here.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye.